Welcome to this podcast where we'll be exploring the inspiring journey of someone who's overcome great adversity. Throughout our lives, we all face challenges that can seem insurmountable. These obstacles can be physical, emotional, financial, or social, and they can test us in ways we never imagined. In this podcast, we will hear the powerful story of someone who has faced adversity head-on and emerged stronger on the other side. Through the struggles, they have gained invaluable sight and wisdom, which they will share with us today. We'll hear about their lowest moments, the hurdles they faced, and the triumphs that followed. We will learn about the people who supported them along the way and the strategies they used to keep moving forward, even when the going got tough. The purpose of this podcast is to provide inspiration and motivation to those who are currently facing adversity. We hope that by hearing about someone else's journey, you'll be encouraged to keep pushing forward and never give up on your dreams. So get ready to be inspired as we embark on this journey through adversity together. So welcome to the third episode of Journey Through Adversity, and today we've got Jack Wilshere on. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you, Kerry.
Last time I saw you slagging me off in the centre circle at Stevenage, telling me not to give it to the other team.
We lost that day. And do you remember who...
Yeah, but the referee gave it away.
Good. Do you remember who missed the last penalty?
You.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was tough, that. But Billy did it off his feet as well, which he scored.
Yeah, Billy was good, wasn't he?
But we'll put faith in you to score that.
Yeah.
I got shifted as well from the penalty take.
Do you know what? After I took that, the goalie said to me, before the game, he watched all my penalties in my career. And he knew where I was going.
Was that, who's that, Joe?
I can't remember who it was, but I remember him saying it
That's
to
a
me.
good game, that.
That
To
was
be fair, though, you and Jermaine Pennant just ran that from
Yeah.
there's some dodgy player, mate, on that one. But so we got you in for the podcast, and so what we talk about on this, and I said to you earlier, is like how you come back from adversity and things like that. And we had a couple of parents in. Obviously, this is set up to talk with parents. First of all, we had sick children, but also I think they want to know how people also deal with problems with their careers as well, because everything's relative in their career, mental stuff. So obviously, you're retired now. How's it feeling being retired?
Do you know what? I'm the type of person who needs some sort of structure in my life, needs some sort of goal to work towards. And I sort of lost that a little bit when I was playing in football. You know, I was obviously spent the majority of my career at Arsenal, went to West Ham. And since that moment where I terminated my contract at West Ham, and then like me being a little bit, I'd say arrogant, but a little bit, just thought I would leave West Ham and I'd get another club. And then I had a period of, I think it's about 6 months, where I didn't have a club and no one wanted me, and I was the one who had to go out and like call people in the game that I knew, see if I could just get an opportunity to come and train with them. And at the time it was COVID, so a lot of the clubs, Arsenal included, were like, look, we can't because you know the bubbles. You remember all the bubbles and all that. And it was Jason Tyndall at Bournemouth who said, "Yeah, of course, come down and train." Do you remember like
He's with Eddie Howe now.
Yeah, so the country got split into like certain categories. Do you remember? And Bournemouth was one where there wasn't high cases. So he said, "Yeah, come down, train." I went down and trained for a couple of weeks, and they offered me something. Stayed there for 6 months, but he got sacked after 2 weeks, so it didn't quite work out. Jonathan Woodgate came in, and he was good, Jonathan Woodgate, but he had different ideas. And then I had another period of 6 months where I couldn't get a club. And
what do you feel in that period, though?
Yeah, so that's when I sort of lost, like, I felt rejected. I sort of lost I always in my career, I always had an aim. Like I wanted to, when I was at Arsenal, let's get back in the Champions League, or let's be the best player, the young player of the season, or whatever it was. And I lost that, and then I went to Denmark for 6 months, which was lovely, and I loved it, really enjoyed it, great people, good club, different experience. But then when so now I'm the under-18s head coach at Arsenal, when this came up, I always had in the back of my mind about coaching and wanted to do it, and watching different coaches, the way they work. And then at the end of my time at Denmark, Per Mertesacker rang me and said, look, this has come up, would you be interested? And I had a decision to make, but didn't really feel like a tough decision because my focus has switched. And yeah, now I've been doing it a year and I love it. It's completely different to anything, but I do love it.
Have you got your sort of passion back for it a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. And everyone says, like, what's it like? And that's the biggest thing that it's given me. It's given me that drive back, that, you know, when you wake up in the morning and you've got an aim, and it's nothing to do with me. It's about trying to help others, trying to help the young players. You know, I've walked in their footsteps.
Do you see, so one of those things when you see those young players, one of the questions like, do you see some of the mistakes maybe that you would have made as a young player?
Yeah, 100%. And that's
tend to sort of, you're a dad and stuff. Do you tend to sort of father them a bit.
Yeah, yeah, and you have completely different personalities within that group, and I think it's so. If I think of it from a completely selfish point of view and like where I want to get to in my coaching career, it's such a good place for me to start because of that. Because you're dealing with kids. Some of them will be naughty. Some of them are the best behaved kids you've ever seen. Some of them will make mistakes, and yeah, I think I can help them because I certainly made mistakes at that age. And
is it more like sort of man management? That seems to be the art of managing at the moment with egos and stuff.
Yeah, for me that is, it's hard to put a percentage, but a big percentage, maybe 70% is getting to know the person because ultimately, Kerry, you're trying to convince them of a way of playing, a way of working every day, and you know if you don't understand the person and what they need, what they want, then I think you'll fail.
I remember watching John Terry said something in a thing about Dean Smith. He said he was trying to be a coach, and so some player was giving the best of it or something like that. And Dean Smith, he said he asked him about what his family life's like, and he said he just through COVID, he's missed his family. He said give him a bit more time off, and also he came back a different player completely. Yeah. I think that's like the way it's moving now, as people forget about well-being and mental health and stuff with it all. That's a massive factor. Really.
Yeah, I think back to my time with Arsene Wenger, and he was obviously a big influence on my career, and he taught me loads about football. But the biggest thing that the biggest compliment I can pay him is like the empathy he had. And you know, I had a kid really early who had epilepsy. Everyone knows that. It's not, and like some tough times that we went through, and he was always there for me, and it was always, what do you need? Like if you need a day off or you need to go somewhere to see someone, always take it. And I think I'd be stupid not to take that with me on my journey because they're Arsene Wenger's known as one of the top coaches in the world, and he had a certain way of working, so I need to tap into all of that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it must be tough as well seeing them come through, but you get that like, I wish that was me again playing sort of thing.
You know what? I have a few moments where, and maybe it was only probably about a week ago, where I said to the missus, you know, if I could do it all again, I'd love to do it all again. But saying that, like day to day, is so intense, Kerry, and like there's so much going on, and you're juggling and spinning all kinds of plates that you don't really have time to reflect. And I didn't know that, like in season when things are going on and you play a game, you might have a bad game, and then you review the game and you think you're doing all you can to reflect, and you are, but then you know, we finished like May the 12th, and I've been off since then, and like stepping away from it and going on holiday, you can really think about the work you've done. Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a bit of reflection to realise what you've done as well.
Yeah.
But it must be like, so I went through your stats last night, actually doing some research, which is very unusual for me.
It's professional.
Well, yeah, makes you fun, yeah. But so I looked at, so you had a 12-year playing career, but I worked it out, and someone listed you had nearly 1,450 days out injured. That's a lot. So that's almost 25% of your career injured, and don't forget you got in season, off season time, so 3 months in between. So your condensed period.
Yeah,
it must be soul destroying.
Yeah, do you know? It was really soul destroying in the early days because I was a player. I came through the academy, loved every minute of it, but I played every minute, Harry. Like I was never injured.
Do you think that's had an effect on you?
I don't know really. Like some people say that, but I wouldn't change it because. That arguably got me to where I was as early as I did. And I loved it. And even like in my early days, the first 3 years really, so I made my debut at 16 and I didn't really get an injury till I was 19. You know, my first proper season, I was 18 and I played like 59 games. So then to pick up an injury, and I was pretty naive as well, which maybe didn't help. Like when I first got the injury, I got it at the end of my first proper season.
Was that the ankle?
Yeah, the ankle. It's all the physios. No one really, but everyone thought I sprained it. To go away, you got 6 weeks off. Come back, did that. Came back in pre-season. Still had a little bit of discomfort. Played for it. I was always one of them as well, which I think helped me, but also hindered me a little bit in my career. I'd play through pain.
Stepping back a little bit.
Yeah, I'd hide pain and I'd just try and push through it. And then I had an injury. My first injury, I was out for like 16 months, like away from the game. And still, what people don't see is you still have to. You know, you speak to any footballer. When you're injured, it's harder physically than it is when you're a player because you're constantly trying to keep yourself at a level of fitness. So when you come back, the gap's not too big because you look at football now compared to where I start, the speed of it and everything, and that was happening all the time. Every month that went past, football was getting faster. The players.
Also, you're with a coach as well that put up fast football, really, Wenger.
Yeah.
So everything was about speed and.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but they were buying players in as well, and like that sort of mental thing of like right, I'm here and I was here. I was really good last year. But the thing in football is people like they forget easy, like, and the game moves on. And then Cazorla came in,
That's what I was about to
Mikel
say. So
Arteta
when
came
you're
in,
injured.
Aaron Ramsey got better. Like, and I'm thinking, well, how am I going to get back in here? And again,
So
lucky.
when you're sitting at home though, and you see that, so when you see on Sky Sports News, you're sitting at home with your leg on ice. You're seeing Arsenal interested in Santi Cazorla. You know that's your position.
Yeah.
What does that think?
Yeah,
How
it's
do you
tough.
get around it? Do they talk? They speak to you? Say, look.
No, they don't. It's tough. It is tough, and you have to find a way, and you have to have confidence in your own ability as well. Back yourself. You have to stick to the process of rehab, which I learned pretty quickly because, if I'm honest, like my first injury, especially the first 6 months of that, I just thought, the body's going to heal. I'll come back and I'll play. That's what I've always done. That's what I've always known. And then it took, as I said, 16 months, and I had to really buy into the rehab. And then as my career went on, I saw the importance of the rehab and how that helps you get back to a level.
But you just like, obviously, because of like the amount of injuries and stuff, when you get to a point where you're back ready to play, then you're back on the pitch, it must be awesome to hear the fans cheer. And obviously, that's that gold medal syndrome. I was talking about outside. It's like, this is the best I could ever have.
Yeah.
You get on the pitch, tackle comes in, or you feel something, you think, shit,
Yeah.
it's back again.
Yeah, it's tough.
And what's that initial first? It must be sort of like the highs and like coming off stage doing Nebworth sort of thing. Must think, here we go again.
You know what?
All again, and like it must get some low points for you. Like
It's probably as well like the perception that you're trying to give off. That's a big thing for me. So I remember my first game after that long injury was against QPR at home, and I played really well. Like, I came back, Cazorla was in the team, all these new players around me, and I played really well. But I remember getting knocked on my ankle, and I remember going down and thinking, shit, like people are going to think, oh, he's injured again. Like, don't show it. You need to get up. And yeah, that was probably the biggest thing. Like,
but did you think that actually did you this benefit? So sort of thing, you like hiding the injuries a bit more.
Yeah, as I said, like I was always one. Like, I can count probably on one hand the amount of games that I played in my career without any pain.
Really?
Yeah, and I think people don't really understand that, but like a lot of the players are the same as well now, and that's why like you see all these players who play all these consecutive games, and like I think it's unbelievable. But they're playing through stuff, and they're hiding stuff, and they're trying to get the best out of their body.
But do you think some of the players they get a rap for always being injured, like Pogba, for example?
Yeah.
Do you think they're more vocal about their injuries, or
Yeah, I
they're
think
less don't want to inclined to hide them away? But do you think they're more vocal about the injuries they have potentially?
Yeah, and I think again it comes back to perception, and I always had that in my head when I was a player. Like, I didn't want to become that player who, people used to say, "Oh, Darren Anderton, sick note," and I used to get that a little bit, and I wanted to stay away from that. So yeah, you end up hiding things, and then someone like Pogba, obviously a big name who's in the public eye a lot. It's hard to hide that. If you get a little knock and you're out for 10 days, people then jump on it.
Especially at the top team like United and the transfer.
He's injured again, and that then sticks with you, and it's not nice. That
ultimately, that must be hard because you can't do anything about it.
No, yeah, that's the thing
same with everything
that other people don't understand. Like, of course, during my career, you mentioned that all them days I had out. They were the worst days in my career. Like, all I wanted to do was go out and train with the lads. You still have to come to a training ground. You still have to work hard.
But how do you get like mentally wise? Like, because we never hear really footballers talking about their mental state. You always just accept that without me being correct. Oh, they get high money, they get paid lots of money. Just deal with it. There's other people with real problems.
Yeah.
But you're a human. You got a family. It's a career you've chosen. Ultimately, the wage only comes to you because that's the money that comes in from outside agency. If they paid sort of builders that money because it's on Sky building a house, it'd be the same thing. Do you know what I mean? It's only the career that you're in that gets the wages, but it doesn't make you any different in the fact that dealing with adversity and problems affects you. But obviously, you're probably more inclined just to hide away that you're feeling down because people just say, suck it up, you're sort of, what you got to moan about and things like that.
Yeah, that goes back to the perception again, right? And yeah, like, There, I had some dark days for injury and like some tough times. I think what helped me is my family. My family like around me, kids. But none of the like I mentioned before about my son being ill when he was younger. Like, that was the worst time for me. Like, you forget about it. Yeah, you start thinking, right, these are actually real problems. And listen, don't get me wrong, being injured was horrible, and not being able to do what you love is horrible. But when it affects your family and stuff, it's even worse.
Was it affecting them, you being injured?
I think it was affecting my dad a lot. Like my dad was a big part of my career, big influence on me. Like I grew up taking me to training. I lived in Hitchin. We had to go to Walthamstow, which was like an hour on a good day after school. We had a little red van that wouldn't go over 50 miles an hour. So he sacrificed a lot, and he just loved me playing football. And like during my early days, I would read the negative comments about he's injured again and he's this that, and then I would just forget about it. Like as I got older in my career,
And that
I'd
was probably
focus.
before social media kicked off.
Yeah, 100%. And I would focus on the things that mattered. But my dad would still be on social media, and it would affect him more. Like as I grew up and
Did it make you more protective of you? You think?
oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah. He's very like it could be the smallest comment from somebody, doesn't matter, on Instagram or Twitter, and it would really affect him, and he'd want to get to the bottom of it and put him right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it must be tough, like I say. But in those things, did Arsenal at that point, like from mental health point of view or anything like that, did they ever offer you any help? Or
Do you know what?
What did they do? Like obviously, so say day one you got injured again, you're at home, you think, fuck, what have I got to do again? Your foot's swollen. What goes in your head then? Because we talked about the McGregor documentary outside, which is right. Because when he broke his foot, the initial thing, and I said to my wife at this time, when he woke up, it wasn't like, shit, what's happened to me? It's like, right, where's the next? Am I going to deal with the next thing? When am I going to fight again? Which was mad, like, because his leg was in half.
Yeah.
But you think it must be like that case of, is it the first time it happens, the second time it happens, first think, fuck, again, here we go.
Yeah, I think that is the starting point of like day one. You wake up. You think, right, when can I get back? That is the starting point. And then, like, you have days where it feels like it's a million miles away. And in terms of, like, help and stuff, I always go back to Arsene. Like, and not that he'd ring me on day one or day two, and I'd be around the training ground, obviously, so I'd see him, but it was almost the trust and the faith he had in me as a player. I always knew that, right, if I could get myself back fit to a certain level, I would get an opportunity back in the team, and that gave me strength. That gave me like the passion to really go.
It must be comforting, like, so Cazorla coming through and those boys coming through.
Yeah, like, and he would always be like, I remember when Santi signed, Mikel signed at the same time, it would be like, you'd fit well playing with these. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be, well, you have to get ahead of these.
Yeah, so it's not in your mind, so you've got faith that you can relax
get back, and
must be worse when you can say, look, well, they're scoring goals, you might not get in again.
Yeah, I think you always have that thought as a player anyway, because you're watching it and you're seeing these players, you're thinking, right, that's my position, he's doing really well, and that is tough. But then when you have a manager who has faith in you, it helps.
So when that changed, when Emery came in, and then obviously you left Arsenal at that point, what was that when he said to you, look, well, I don't know, you the conversation you had, and that was the end of your boyhood club, your team that you support and stuff. How'd you take that?
Well, that was a strange time for me, because I had 2 years left on my contract, and it was 2 days before. So 2 years before this, Arsenal was still there. I had 2 years left on my contract, and 2 days before the end of the transfer window, the England squad had just been announced. Sam Allardyce had come in,
Right, for his one game.
Yeah, and he'd announced the England squad, and I weren't in it. And this was just after the Euros, so I was in the Euros. We obviously lost to Iceland. It was a nightmare. And then Roy left, Sam came in.
Were you in that squad?
Yeah, I played in that game. And then Sam came in, done the new squad, and I weren't in it. But we'd played like 3 or 4 games. Do you remember like that weird international break back in the day, where it was like you played 3 games in the Premier League, then you went away with international. But I hadn't played in the Premier League. I'd only come off the bench. So I was thinking, right, I need to get back into this England squad. There's a World Cup coming up. I'm going to talk to Arsene, see what I need to do to get into the team. And like almost like just to see what he was thinking, I said to him, like, do I need to go out on loan to get some game time? He was like, yeah, you should go out on loan. And I was like, I had 2 days left.
So we're calling this bluff trial.
Yeah, I had 2 days left. So, and at this point, I didn't have an agent as well. So I was thinking, I was panicking. Anyway, so I contacted an agent that I've known for years. He's my agent now still. Said, look, I need to find a club to get on loan. Met loads of clubs. Met David Moyes, he was at Sunderland. Met Alan Pardew, he was at Palace. And I met Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall, who was at Bournemouth. So I decided to go to Bournemouth. Went to Bournemouth, had a really good year. Played 32 games, which was the most I played.
Injury-free.
Yeah. And then 4 games before the end of the season, Tottenham away, and what a place to do it. Harry Kane kicks me and I break my leg. Wasn't a bad break, didn't need surgery.
Yeah.
It was like, I think it was about 3 months out, but this was like April, and went away in the summer, got married, and that came back to Arsenal, had a conversation with Arsenal again, had a year left on my deal, and he said, look, probably not going to offer you a new deal. So if you can find something now in the summer transfer window, you can go. And yeah, I thought, okay, I was injured, so I won't play, and didn't really have that.
How did that feel? It's like being split up for your missus.
Yeah, that was tough. I remember the conversation. I was in the gym on the bike doing rehab, and he came in, and I remember thinking, "Whoa, like you're right, breaking up with someone like this is the end." But then over the next few days, like speaking to my missus and my dad, I thought, I looked at the team, and don't get me wrong, there's some good players, but there was like Santi was injured as well, bad injury, and then playing in midfield was Xhaka, El Neni, Ramsey, maybe a couple of others. And I thought, you know what, if I can get myself fit, I've got a manager who I know trusts me and he'll give me a chance. If I can get myself really fit, I can get back into this team and potentially earn myself a new contract. I did that, got back, got fit, played in Europa League, played in the League Cup, eventually got into the Premier League team, played for the rest of the season, got to the semi-final of the Europa League. And then it was announced that Arsene was leaving.
Did he tell you before?
No. So, sorry, I got offered a new 3-year deal, which I wanted.
Before he told everyone was leaving?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we had a meeting one day. It was mad. Like, we came into the training ground. He sat us all down and said, look, this is going to be my last year, blah, 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 and whatever. And then I went away from that thinking, the deal they've offered me is a 3-year deal. It's heavily based on playing.
Right.
How can I sign a 3-year deal with a club where I need to play and I don't know who the manager's going to be? We didn't know it was going to be Emery at this point. So I said to the club, look, I need time. I need to think about what I want to do and who's the new manager coming in. They said, yeah, no problem, that's fine. They announced Emery, one of his first days. I called him and said, look, can we have a meeting? And he just said, it got lost a little bit. And I laugh about it now. It got lost a little bit with his language. Like, his English wasn't the best. He basically said to me, you need to go somewhere where you're relevant. Yeah.
It's just
I was like,
dictionary and translate.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. And listen, I can say it now without any bad feeling, but I made a mistake. I should have signed. I should have backed myself. I should have had the same confidence in myself that I did a year before when Arsene said you can leave. I mean, there was a few different factors. Obviously, Emery didn't know me as a player, didn't know me as a person. I knew Arsene, that he'd give me a chance. But in hindsight, I should have stayed.
How do you feel with that? You don't have any regrets?
No, that's what I mean. I can talk about it now, and I'm absolutely fine with it. Now and then, I think what would have happened if I did stay, because obviously he didn't last that long. Mikel came in.
Also, at the time as well, you do something at the time because you feel like you need to do it.
Yeah, and to be honest, Kerry, as well. I look back at that point of my career, and if I'm being really, really honest with myself, I wasn't the same player because of the injuries.
I think you slowed down a bit.
Yeah, I slowed down. I lost that bite. And I went to West Ham, and look, even I didn't give myself the best chance at West Ham. Wasn't the best version of Jack Wilshere because of the injuries and stuff that I had. And listen, I don't regret it because I grew up a West Ham fan. I was a boyhood West Ham fan, and to play for West Ham, for my family, for my dad, for all his mates, was like a dream come true. And I did have a good, especially the first year was really good. And then things went downhill, but I don't regret that.
No. Must be hard. It's like I say, it's like grief, isn't it? Losing that. And also, because you lose, all of a sudden you're kicked out of an area, all your friends are.
Yeah.
It's not just the players, it's all the backroom staff.
Well, that's the thing as well, yeah. Like, that's my biggest thing when I was leaving. I was joining West Ham. I was so nervous about that because I went to Bournemouth on loan. But when you go on loan, it's different because you always know you're going back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So when I left, that was like...
You get to speak to the physio team at Arsenal and stuff during that loan period, didn't it? Because they always watching you.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And they're looking after you still.
But I remember, I know quite a few of the boys in the backroom staff at Arsenal, and he's quite a collective... Well, back in that time with Wenger, it was almost sort of like a friendly atmosphere.
Yeah, it was lovely. It's like a family.
Golf or...
Yeah, and you know what? Credit to Mikel, because he's kept that alive. I don't know what happened with Emery because I weren't there and whatever, but like I went back before I went to Denmark to keep myself fit and train with the first team and be around it. And that played part of my decision when Per rang me and said, look, come back, be the under-18s head coach, because of that family feeling like it's back. And there's people at the club that I've got a great relationship with for years, like since I was 15. So it's like their family, do you know what I mean?
Do you think it's almost like that you need to be loved?
Yeah, 100%.
If you don't feel loved,
100%. No, especially like, and every individual is different, right?
Yeah.
But I am that type of person who needs to feel the love, and even
wanted.
during them dark days of injuries, like I can remember going in and just spending hours and hours with the staff, like around the training ground, with the physios, with the kit men, like all them people who they just make you feel better, and they care about you, they love you, and it gives you something.
Yeah. I remember quite a few of the players that when we were doing the golf stuff, coming up when they're injured, trying to get them up morale. Even on the golf days, they just drive around the buggies.
Yeah,
Just like trying to get them out. Also, they're part of the team still. Because obviously, it's a team sport; it's not individual.
Yeah.
So you need to be. And almost the other thing is losing that connection with the team when you're not training with them.
That's what I mean. That's shaped the way I am as a coach as well, because I'm a big believer, and I call it unity. But like the whole place, like bringing energy, bringing something to the
Seeing the
team.
huddles on Instagram, thing like that. It's always about creating that team.
It's creating that feeling. Like there's something special about a team, and I think back to like my school team and like having that feeling of being part of something, and like we had a really successful school team. We got to the semi-final of the nationals, and like I remember that. And what I remember is not the games, like not me playing well, is that feeling of
together.
The collective feeling of being somewhere, traveling together, winning together.
It's almost like a camaraderie. I remember doing it when we did the free pit last year, and like there was 12 individuals doing it for a cause, but they're individuals. By the end of it, they're all picking each other up. They're all moving. That's
it's like
you get a team spirit.
It's like when I've been at Soccer Aid this last week, and like before I went there, I was a bit anxious about like doing it and being around all these big names, these celebrities. But like even that, like it gave me something. It gave me that feeling again of being in a team, trying to create something together. Obviously raising all that money, but also trying to win the game. And it's for me, it's a special feeling.
That feeling when you shout at me in a charity game.
Yeah,
that must be difficult as well when you play with those guys and you're at that level and seeing someone like missing the ball and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like?
Oh, it's frustrating at times. It is, because you
good,
can't
it's
lose it.
Cause,
It's for a great cause, and like after it, you forget about it, and you're in the dressing room, and you're at the after party having a beer, and it's all fine. But when you're in that moment, like Robbie Keane was playing for the opposition, and he was going mad. Like you never lose that feeling like that. You want to win, and.
But do you think that's you've been raised with that, or do you been born with it? Do you think that's that winning mentality? Because obviously you've got what people don't understand. I've known you a while now. I know quite a few other young guys, Aaron and stuff like that. And people see the now and the here of you playing football, but they don't see the stuff when you're 7 years old playing football. 8 years, your dad take you down the park, sitting in the field till 11 o'clock at night eating footballs. The graft that goes in, and it's the dedication that goes into it. No one ever sees that. And I know I've seen you boys eat and the diets you have. And I wish I could take it on for one day. So, but the discipline, and that's what when I say this to someone, I have this argument with some people say, "Oh, like this, that." But I said, "You don't understand the dedication those boys do. They don't eat ketchup, for example, on edge. I mean, that would kill me. Do you know what I mean? But they don't eat
kids as well.
But it's a certain like the running, and I've seen the warm ups you do for the pre-season. I think the dedication to get up and do that every morning just must be like how you keep yourself focused all the time and motivated. It must be an internal engine that keeps you going.
I don't know. Yeah, I think you're born with it. Like I've had this conversation with a lot of people. I do think you're born with it, and then obviously you have to develop it and like really. But I think naturally, if you're born with it, the further you go in sport and the higher you get, like it just comes out of you, and you can develop it and you can get better at it. But I also think there's a line as well. You don't want to be that guy who's just all about winning and you have to win. There's a process to it, and you have to do it right. But I think you're born with it.
It must be sort of the dedication factor as well, because you have to sort of switch on and switch off to it. It must be tough. So like to take yourself out when you get home, to switch into dad mode.
I think that is, again, that was a sign for me that I was done, because I didn't lose that. But you speak to my mum and dad, and when I was younger, I never had McDonald's. Like I'm talking from 6, 7, 8. I would be like, no, I'm not eating that.
You yourself said it?
Yeah, myself.
Really? So why was that?
I don't know. It was just in me. Like I'm thinking that's bad for you. I had a goal. I always wanted to be a footballer, and that was obviously why I wouldn't eat McDonald's.
So where'd you hear that from? You must have heard that from
someone. I must have heard it from somewhere. I don't know. Just probably my parents, but then my brother and my sister would eat it. So yeah, I don't know.
But you would abstain. You wouldn't touch it.
I wouldn't touch it. But then, like towards the end, I wouldn't have that same dedication, and I always thought in my head, and always said to like my missus and that the moment that I stop having that just is always, you're always trying to get that extra 1% on someone. Do you know what I mean? You're always trying to add that, and the moment I stop having that is the moment I'm done. And I didn't want to carry on chasing it. Like I'd probably have to go around Europe and I didn't want to do that if I wasn't fully engaged in it.
It must be a lot of thing. Also, like I say, you go back to that thing. It's the hard bit, not being loved.
Yeah,
From being like, obviously, like Barcelona goal and story like that. Your England cap. You see all the papers like bigging you up in a way, like the.
yeah, it's
And it must
strange.
be old saying, "Fuck, where's that guy?"
Yeah.
Like 6 years ago, you read
Yeah.
headlines. I was like in demand for everywhere.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like
Yeah, it's strange because when you have it, right? So when you play against Barcelona, everyone's talking about you. You almost try and hide away from it and try and like play it down a little bit, like, oh, like we don't want to be saying he's this good, this good, this good. But then when you don't have that, you're thinking, well, like you said, where are they? Like, where are all these people saying you can do this, 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 and yeah, it's tough.
do you have to sort of? I suppose that comes down to sort of your family life and your own mental perception. Like, let's just calm it down a bit, and then sort of when the go high gets high, you just need to be level, I suppose, because you need to keep the.
Yeah, it does as well. But I always had that thing as well. Like, so I've got 4 kids. 2 of them are 11 and 9, and they can remember me. You know, they've been to the Emirates and they've been on the pitch after, and they've watched me and they've seen me do well. And I've got 2 other kids who are 5 and 3, and I always thought I want them to have that as well. So that was in the back of my head, chasing that.
Yeah. Got YouTube now.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
not
Tiger
watching
Woods,
YouTube.
No, Tiger Woods said that about his kids. Because his kids, I think, when he won the Masters, he said, "My son only knows me as the YouTube champion, YouTube golfer.
Yeah.
Never saw me. Everyone talks about him, his dad, or Charlie, his dad being a top golfer, but he's never saw him win or anything like that."
Yeah, and I had that as well, and you know that's probably why I carried on that extra 6 months. Went to Denmark.
Do you think, though, from a parenting point of view, it's the 2 your elder kids? Obviously, you were going through it at that time, so they were younger when you were playing at a high level. Do you think it's been different? Your parenting in a sense,
100%.
Because 2 younger kids.
They've seen they'll have a different perception of me, the younger kids.
But have you been more of obviously at home?
Yeah, being at home, being around,
Holidays
being calmer as well. Because you know when you're in that sort of high performance mode, like you're a different animal. You know, you talk about Conor McGregor, and you see him how he is. And listen, I wasn't ever that intense, and like it's a different sport. But you are like in, you know, like if. Back in the day, if the kids were going out for dinner, like, and I'd go out for dinner with them, like, I'd make sure that I had a certain meal, or we had to go somewhere. Whereas now, I can go anywhere.
It must be as well. People just take pictures of you eating. If you're
Yeah.
eating chips and saying you're playing the next day or so, it must be like
Yeah, exactly.
be careful.
Yeah, you're just in this mode, and so they definitely saw a different parent. Yeah.
But you got obviously now out the playing days, you can obviously do more things like go to the cinema a bit easier and Alton Towers and all that sort of stuff, like without the public eye on you.
Yeah, yeah, there is that, but also when you're a coach, like
You got
you're more. Do you know what I mean? So I'm there at 7 in the morning. I'm probably getting home some days earlier, but 6, 7 o'clock.
Do you enjoy it now?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, but I'll tell you what you can do. So like in them real intense days and them moments, like you're fully engaged and you're thinking about a session, or you're thinking about a game, or you're thinking about a player, what they're going through. But then what I've learned to do is, you know, like on a Sunday when I'm off. Right, I'm off. That's it. I'm with the kids. That's it. I'm fully involved with the kids. Whereas when you're as a player, you can't really do that. And like now, I went away to Cyprus 2-3 weeks ago, and it was the first holiday I've been on since I stopped playing, and it's completely different because when I was playing and I went on holiday, you know, I'd have 2 days, let's say, where I was eating, and then I'd think, well, I need to do something. I need to go to the gym. And this was the first time where I've been, bang, I'm with the kids. That's it. I'm in the pool for 12 hours a day. I'm eating what I like.
It must be lovely for them, though.
Yeah, it's nice for them.
So you're not worrying about it. It must be hard on the other side, just worrying. You can't even relax.
No, you can't.
Sort of recharge.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. And I always used to think that as a player, like, I can't wait for that day where you go away and you haven't got that pressure of, well, I'm back training in 4 weeks and I need to be at a certain level. Otherwise, this guy's going to be ahead of me.
Yeah. Do you feel like as a coach, though, you need to have a certain level of aesthetics, or obviously the older coaches now, like the paunches they have, not. Do you think like now you have to live and breathe, like obviously not to the level you were as a player, but as a coach, you need to be an example of how to live to the younger
100%. I agree with that, and that I've learnt that sort of as the years gone on. Like, and you look at the coaches now, your Peps, your Mikel,
all lean,
they're fit, they live right. I think as well when you're a coach, naturally, like. Because when you're a coach, a big part of your culture and your philosophy, it has to be the values of you. Like, you can't fake that. Who are you? Like, and I think the more you do it and the way you live day to day, it just comes out naturally. But you have to stick to that.
I say Wenger was playing as matches, wasn't he? When he's
70.
playing the old staff.
Yeah.
But that must be hard. So when you like talk about when you get those kids now, obviously you're a dad of 4 and things. The young lads, the under 18s, when you see one of them down, is there like you pull them aside and say
Yeah.
that obviously we talk about man management. You got ways of like
Mm.
identifying when they're down because obviously it's a different world for kids nowadays, social media and things like that.
Yeah, there's so
And
many.
and
Do you know what Arsene said that to me? He said, so before I took the job, I spoke to him and got his opinion. And he said the biggest challenge that I'll have is the mentality of the young players because, like you said, it's a different world. There's so many distractions. Like when they get home from training, like when I got home from training, I lived in digs with Wojciech Szczesny, and it was right. We might play the PlayStation, but apart from that, we're going to watch football. We're going to do something around football.
A lot of boys used to play golf.
Or golf, yeah, and but now it's a different world. Right? Like they've got YouTube, they've got social media. You can gamble online. You can do anything you want. So trying to help them, and you can see it as well. And that's where it goes back to getting to know the person because you can't help someone if you don't know them.
It must be tough as well. Obviously, that whole thing with Ivan Toney, the gambling and stuff like that. Obviously, there's a lot of things that they just bored at home.
They're bored at home, and there's advertisement everywhere. You're watching a game of football, it goes, make it better.
Even on the
put a
shirt,
bet on it, make it better. Yeah. So it's tough. It is tough.
Especially if you've got a lot of money of your age, just sitting there. What are you gonna do with it? And also, like, we notice as well in the golf thing, we don't see many of the players come up anymore. They're sort of gone, that sort of leisure element of it.
Yeah.
You see a lot of the ex-players come up. And when I remember when you were in the squad, you had you, Theo, Alex, Chamberlain, Aaron, all those boys, Wojciech, Nick, Bentner, everyone was playing golf.
Yeah, it's different.
On the day offs. It's like when
yeah.
we get Wednesday off, we want to go and book a tea time and go and play golf.
Yeah.
And that used to be like, you see the collective. I remember Van Persie doing one on a Saturday morning for everyone.
Yeah.
I think you lost against Tottenham or something, but it's like that collective, like bringing everyone together again. But you don't see that.
No, you don't see it in
the kids anymore.
It's tough.
But do you think there's enough in place for young kids now, mentally?
I think they're getting there. They are getting there. And there are things in place, definitely. But we need to be better at putting them into practice.
But as a coach, are you trained on looking after, which is the other thing, because they do like mental health, first aid and stuff now. Are you trained in the art of like seeing a young lad? Actually, it's like, can you identify if a kid's actually struggling?
Yeah, I think, we are.
You are,
is the answer to that question. But I think, again, it goes back to knowing the person because, I can't walk into a room and not know anyone and go, right, he looks like he's struggling. You have to know the person and what they're about, how they live, how they work every day, and then you can see if there's something a little bit off.
Yeah. So what's the future?
Oh, that's a good question.
Where do you see yourself in 2 years? Coaching?
Yeah, 100% I want to be coaching.
Manager's job somewhere?
Yeah, but also, okay, like I'm not naive to think that just happens, like, because it is tough. It is tough coaching and getting the opportunity and taking the right opportunity. You see it with like some of my ex-teammates, like.
Or 2 high-profile ex-players done really badly recently.
Yeah, like it's not easy, and I feel for them because they would have definitely thought it's right for them. They thought they were in a good place, and I'm in a great place now to learn, and I want to stay there, keep learning, keep getting better, and then wait for the right opportunity. And if that comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But yeah, I'd like to think that I can have a go at being a first team coach, whether that is. I'm not sure. But you have to be lucky as well.
Learn, like, obviously, you know tactics.
Yeah, but that's always.
I'm naive. Don't get me wrong. You're talking to a layman like here about it. I could tell you about the golf swing and things like that.
And you can help mine.
But like it's like you got the elements. We talk about man management, it's tactics, but it's the package, isn't it? You look at Guardiola, the way he talks to those players.
Yeah.
He's him and everyone, isn't he? He knows every single person's trait, but he knows also they're tactical. And is that what the coach is? It's not so much. How do you get from here to here for you as a coach?
Well, I think
is it experience, obviously.
Experience. I think you need a little bit of luck because you need to take a team. So obviously, like you said, I've got a certain way of playing tactically, technically, whatever it is. Yeah, I see the game in a certain way.
Is that fed down by Mikel stuff?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit. Like I look at Mikel.
Wenger about his
he's got a similar style. Obviously, there'll be a few little things that are different. But ultimately, it's dominate the ball. You want the possession. You want to press high. But I think you have to let's be honest, right? So if I was going to get a job, right? Let's say it was in League One. How many teams in League One dominate the ball, keep the ball? It's tough, and you have to be able to adapt. You have to go into a club. You have to look at what you've got, the players, the playing style that was there, and you can't just go, right, I'm changing it all. Here's my playing style. Go and do it.
Yeah.
It is a process, and also in that process, you have to get results because you've got fans, you've got a board, you've got things you have to reach. So, yeah, I mean, you need a little bit of luck. You need to go in, being able to adapt to get results quick. I think Mikel is a perfect example. Like, look,
well, he
how
learned under the best, didn't he? Really,
he learned under the best, but then he went to Arsenal and like he drip fed a little bit of his playing style in. He won the FA Cup, got a little bit of credit, got the fans back on board, got the board thinking, okay, and then they'll invest a little bit more, and then he brings a little bit more of his playing style. Now you look at him and it's a completely different team, and he's done so well.
He's got them on board,
and he had time.
He's seen them on board as well.
Yeah,
the whole team's on board,
yeah,
and they're young as well.
They're convinced. That's the biggest part of the job for me is convincing. And listen, for me, I wouldn't say it's easy because these kids, like you said today, it's a different world. They see on YouTube, they see on net.
But these kids that you're coaching now, would they have seen you play in your peak?
Yeah.
So they must have been 12 years old.
Yeah, but it's easier for me now because of that. They know who I am. They see it. It's easier for me to convince 16, 17-year-olds of a way of playing and a way of working. But let's say if I went to League One and I'm working with, professionals who've been in the game for a long, long time, it's a bit harder to convince. So that's what I need to learn and get better at.
Do you think it'd be hard as a coach, though, to go to someone who is your age and who's been playing for a long... Because that's Mikel had that issue, didn't he? Going in and teaching and coaching players that he played with.
Yeah.
Must be hard to then all of a sudden be in the coach in that thing. Mentally, just like... You got to turn into sort of, well, how do you like... Well, you might have given me orders, actually, on the pitch.
Yeah.
But now I'm the boss.
Yeah.
It must be tough, especially like if you went to someone as a bigger club, someone your age playing, well, in a couple of years, it must be like, how do you get around that?
It is tough, and I think he's done so well at that. Like, and listen, the way he coaches, and like you said, the way he and Pep, I think they're quite similar, but the way they talk to people, like it's all part of it. Like for me, the football and coaching is a part of it, but it's only a small part of it. It's people skills, convincing people, getting them on board, bringing like a team with you. So
we're starting to wrap it up anyway, Jack. So a question I ask everyone is, what would 2023 Jack tell 2010 Jack? Obviously, when you're just starting out.
Oh.
What would he tell him about what to do? How would you change your...
Yeah, I would... It's hard because, like you said, I don't like to live with regrets, but I'd have signed the contract at Arsenal in 2018. But in 2010, I'd probably said, just like, take it easy. Don't be so obsessed with, well, I need to play the next game. I need to play. But then saying that might have not made me the player I was during my career. So, yeah, probably just calm, take it easy, like build, trust in the processes that people put in place, and don't try and rush something that's coming. It's coming, but it'll come at the right time.
Be patient.
Yeah, be patient.
Awesome, Jack. It's been a pleasure, mate.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hope everyone learns from it.
Thank you.
Hope maybe some Tottenham fans will listen to it as well.
Probably not.
Cheers, Jack. Thanks for coming on.